In the quiet suburb of Elmswood, where the trees stretched tall and the sidewalks whispered with the secrets of 1,000 children's games, there lived a young man named Brandon. His eyes, a deep shade of brown, mirrored the earth that cradled him, and his callous hands spoke of honest work and quiet resilience. Brandon's house was a testament to his meticulous nature, a sanctuary where order reigned supreme. Each lawn tool had its place, and the flowers in his garden grew in neat, symmetrical rows, a silent nod to the peace he craved. Rachel, his girlfriend, had been the spark that brought life to this order. Her laughter had painted the walls with joy, and her warmth had filled the air with the sweet scent of home. But now, the house was a tomb to her memory, a place where echoes of her footsteps danced in the hallways, a cruel reminder of what was lost. On a Monday afternoon, the air thick with the scent of freshly cut grass, Brandon found himself lost in the rhythmic dance of his lawnmower. The whir of the blades and the steady thump-thump against the ground created a comforting white noise that dulled the ache in his heart. Rachel had loved the way the yard looked after he tended to it, the vibrant green a canvas to her eyes that had seen the world in colors Brandon could only dream of. He worked with a fervor fueled by both love and pain, sweat beads forming on his brow as he pushed the mower back and forth. It was a dance he knew well, a dance that kept his mind from wandering too far into the abyss of what had been and what could never be again. The sky above was a clear, unblemished blue, a canvas devoid of clouds. It was the kind of day Rachel would have loved, perfect for a picnic or a hike in the nearby woods. But the sun had other plans. As it dipped below the horizon, it threw a shadow across the yard that made Brandon pause, the mower sputtering to a halt. The shadow grew, stretching long fingers over the grass, reaching out to him with a malicious intent that seemed to pulse with each beat of his heart. He squinted, shielding his eyes with a hand that trembled slightly. High above, something was descending, something that didn't belong in the real world. The shadow grew darker, the edges sharper, until it coalesced into a form that sent a shiver down Brandon's spine. It was a hand, a giant hand, but not one made of flesh and bone. It was a hand of pure, unbridled power, a hand that could crush the life from the world with a single, contemptuous squeeze. His mind raced, trying to piece together what he was seeing. It was a vision from a nightmare, a figure that had haunted his childhood video games. The Master Hand, a character from Super Smash Bros Brawl, was plummeting towards him, and as it grew closer, the rage in its eyes was unmistakable. This was no coincidence. This was a declaration of war, a vendetta born from a twisted reality where the games he'd once played had become a chilling prophecy. The hand grew to monstrous proportions, blocking out the sun and casting the neighborhood into an eerie twilight. The ground trembled as it neared, windows rattling in their panes and dogs in the distance howling in terror. Brandon's heart hammered against his ribcage, a drumbeat of fear that seemed to sync with the thunderous approach of the Master Hand. He knew what he had to do. Rachel's death had not been in vain. He had to fight, not just for her, but for everyone he loved, for every innocent soul that would be crushed under the weight of this digital demon's wrath. He dropped the lawnmower and sprinted towards the house, his mind racing. The key to stopping this monstrosity had to be in Rachel's disappearance, in the clues that had led to her tragic end. As he burst through the front door, he grabbed the first weapon he could find, a baseball bat, its wooden length a comforting weight in his trembling hands. It was a feeble defense against such a colossal foe, but it was all he had. The house shuddered as the hand slammed into the ground, the tremors sending cracks snaking through the walls. Outside, the world had gone mad. The Master Hand stood before him, its fingers flexing with a menace that made Brandon's knees want to buckle. The hand was grotesque, a parody of human form with elongated, twisted digits ending in jagged claws. The eyes, those cold, unblinking eyes, bore into him, and he knew that this creature had been watching him, had been waiting for this moment. It spoke, a voice that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere, a cacophony of malicious intent that whispered through the air like the hiss of a snake. "You've meddled with forces beyond your comprehension, mortal. Now you shall pay for what you've done." Brandon took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of Rachel's memory in his chest, giving him the strength to stand tall. He gripped the bat with both hands, knuckles white, and stepped forward. "You took her from me," he shouted, his voice a mix of rage and sorrow. "But I won't let you take anyone else." The battle was about to begin, a clash between a grief-stricken man and a creature of game-born wrath. The fate of Elmswood, and possibly the world, hung in the balance, and Brandon knew that he was the only one who could tip the scales towards justice. "PK Thunder!" he yelled, channeling a power that had been dormant within him, a power born from his love and pain. A brilliant, electric blue lightning bolt shot from his body, crackling and sizzling with energy, and struck the master hand with the force of 1,000 storms. The impact was deafening, the air around the hand sizzling as the electricity danced across its surface. For a brief moment, it looked like the creature might falter, but it was not enough to bring it down. The hand merely clenched into a fist, the energy absorbed into its monstrous form, making it stronger, more terrifying than ever. The hand opened again, revealing a maw of pure shadow, and from it, a tornado of darkness shot towards Brandon. He dove to the side, the bat clutched tightly in his hands, the winds of the attack tearing at his clothes and hair. The force of it tore up the earth, sending rocks and debris flying. He rolled to a stop, panting, the taste of dust in his mouth. The hand hovered there, a silent challenge, as if it enjoyed the thrill of the hunt. Brandon knew he had to think fast, to use his wits and the limited power he had at his disposal to bring this creature down. He glanced around, his eyes settling on Rachel's favorite flower bed, a riot of color that had been trampled by the hand's descent. An idea took root in his mind. He sprinted towards the garage, ignoring the pain in his body from the fall. Inside, he found what he was looking for, Rachel's old Super Smash Bros Brawl game, the very game where he had first encountered the master hand. He clutched it to his chest, feeling the warmth of her presence seep into his skin. He had one chance, one desperate gamble to save not only himself but everyone he loved. The hand hovered closer, the darkness within its palm growing, ready to unleash another devastating blow. But Brandon was ready. He inserted the game into a dusty old console that Rachel had once used to escape into her favorite worlds. The TV flickered to life, and the familiar theme song filled the air. The hand paused, seemingly confused by this unexpected turn of events. With a final shout of defiance, Brandon smashed the bat onto the button to start the game. The screen lit up, and a beam of light shot from the TV, enveloping him in a world of pixels and power-ups. The hand roared in fury, and the battle for Elmswood and beyond had truly begun. As the light from the TV washed over him, Brandon felt his body change, the baseball bat transforming into a mighty hammer, a weapon worthy of the gods of gaming lore. His clothes morphed into armor, and his eyes burned with a fiery determination. The power of 100 heroes coursed through his veins, and he knew he had found what he needed to fight this monster. The master hand threw a barrage of fiery punches, each one aimed to obliterate, but Brandon dodged and weaved with newfound agility, the hammer swinging in a graceful arc, leaving a trail of sparks in the air. In the corner of the screen, a glowing box appeared, and Brandon's heart skipped a beat. It was the ultimate power-up, the one that could end this nightmare in a heartbeat, the Master Sword. He leapt into the digital realm, his feet barely touching the ground, and grabbed the gleaming weapon. The moment his hand wrapped around the hilt, he felt a surge of energy so intense that it brought tears to his eyes. The sword sang with a melody that resonated through his soul, and he knew Rachel was with him, her spirit lending him the strength he needed. The hand's eyes narrowed, sensing the shift in power. The air grew thick with anticipation, the very fabric of reality stretching and distorting around them. With a cry that was part grief, part battle cry, Brandon charged. The sword blazed with a light that outshone the setting sun, and as he brought it down upon the hand, the world itself seemed to hold its breath. The impact was monumental, the force sending shockwaves through the ground and shattering windows in the surrounding houses. The hand recoiled, its shadowy form flickering like a candle in the wind. But the battle was far from over. The master hand grew more frenzied, its attacks more vicious. Brandon felt the weight of his grief and anger, the burden of Rachel's loss pressing down on him like a mountain. Yet, he pushed forward, each swing of the sword a declaration of his love and his refusal to let the darkness win. The power of the sword and the game coursed through him, fueling his every move, turning the tide of the fight. The hand swiped and clawed, but Brandon was a blur of light and steel, his every strike a symphony of retribution. The hand's form began to waver, the shadows that made up its body fraying at the edges. Brandon could see the fear in its eyes, feel the tremble in its movements. He knew he had it on the ropes, but the ultimate power-up weighed heavily on his mind. Could he truly wield such destruction? Was he ready to end this, even if it meant the end of everything? The decision hung in the balance, as did the fate of the world. But Rachel's smile, her laughter, her love, it all gave him the answer he needed. He raised the sword high, the light from the TV reflecting off its gleaming blade. This was for Rachel. This was for Elmswood. This was for the world. The sword descended in a blur, a beam of light so bright it seemed to split the very air. The hand howled, a sound that was felt more than heard, as the blade cleaved through the shadowy flesh, releasing a torrent of dark energy that swirled around them like a maelstrom. The world trembled, the very sky seeming to crack, as the two forces collided in a display of power that would be remembered for generations. The hand dissolved into nothingness, its final scream echoing through the void, a testament to the love and determination of a man who had faced the unthinkable and emerged victorious. As the light faded and the world grew still once more, Brandon stood alone in the wreckage of his yard, the sword and hammer in his hands now mere relics of a battle that had been won. Rachel's spirit hovered beside him, a gentle warmth that whispered, "Thank you," before it faded away, leaving him with the quiet of a world saved from oblivion. The sun set, casting the neighborhood in a soft, golden glow, as if it too knew that the battle was over. Brandon took a deep, shaky breath, feeling both the weight of his triumph and the emptiness of Rachel's absence.